It's heavy though, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right. So, brothers and sisters, we're on part 2 of the lesson that we're going to be dealing with. The lesson that we're covering is an in-depth look at the sons of the wicked. An in-depth look at the sons of the wicked. Now, what I want us to do is go back to the book of Genesis, if you please. Genesis chapter 4 and verse 7.
Yes,
We're going to move a little bit quicker now, just a little bit quicker. So I'm praying that you can stay with me. I'm going to slow it down every now and then, so I'm not going to put you in a situation. Let's read, please. Genesis chapter 4 and 7.
The book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 7.
Let's read.
If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door.
So we see here that sin lieth at the door. Why does the scriptures use the term door when it speaks about a man? It's because the Bible refers to us as the temple of God. A temple has doors. And therefore, that's why in the book of Revelations, he speaks about, behold, I stand at the door and knock. I think that's Revelations chapter 3 and 20.
Yes,
right? And so he says that. Now here, we're reading here, we also understand that he said, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule, or shalt rule over him. Now, in order to get some understanding of that, I think we need to go to Psalms 109 and 6 verse. Psalms 109 and 6. Psalms 109.
The book of Psalms, chapter 109 and verse 6. It reads, set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand.
See that? I'll read it again, sir.
Psalm chapter 109 and verse 6. Set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand.
Now, that's what it's saying about when you allow Satan to stand at your right hand side. Remember, your right hand side is reserved for the Most High God. As we, the children of God, are reserved for the right hand side of the Most High God. Now, when you read verse 7, watch what it says.
Verse 7. When he shall be judged, let him be condemned.
See that? Go on.
And let his prayer be to become sin.
Read.
Let his days be few, and let another take his office.
So, you see that? Who was the other who took his office? Who was the other who took his office? Esau. Esau took his office. And we see it said, let his days be short. Well, we know his days were short because I think it was Lamech or Melech or whatever his name was, killed him. So he died at a short age instead of living longer. But read on.
Let his children be
let his days
be few, and let another take his office. Let his children be fatherless.
Read.
And his wife a widow.
And did that not happen to him? Yes. Read.
Let his children be continually vagabonds.
Are they not vagabonds? Yes. They're traveling all over the world, taking everybody else's country. Read.
And beg.
Go on.
Let them seek their bread also out of their desolate places.
Read.
Let the extortioner catch all that he hath, and let the stranger spoil his labor.
Jump to 13.
Verse 13. Let his prosperity be cut off, and in the generation following, let their name be blotted out.
And does not the scripture tell us that he's going to be blotted out? Jump to 15.
Verse 15. Let them be before the Lord continually, that he may cut off the memory of them from the earth.
See that? Will their names and their memory not be cut off from the earth?
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Read verse 16.
Because that he remembered not to show mercy, but persecuted the poor and needy man, that he might even slay the broken in heart.
See that? Scripture says, blessed are the brokenhearted, for they shall see. Yeah. For they shall what?
See God.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember the exact quotation, so I'll go with whatever you've got there. But is that not powerful,
yes, it is.
Brothers?
Yes, it is.
And after that, let's go to can you go to John 10? John 10. I think it's John 10. I think it's John 10. I think it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that goes with blessed are the pure in spirit, for they shall be comforted. So it's the same thought.
Come on. So where are we right now?
You said you go to John 10.
John 10, verse 9. There it is.
Come.
There it is. Yes,
The
sir.
book of John, chapter 10, verse 9. I am the door.
Read.
By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out, and find pasture.
And find pasture. See that? But if you read the next clause, read.
The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly.
See that? So that's how we see the placement of that. Okay, now, going back to Genesis chapter 4 and 7, let's go on to, let's see what I want to do. Let's read verse 8.
Come. The book of Genesis chapter 4 and verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother.
Go on.
And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him.
So here we see that Cain premeditatedly murdered his brother. Right? And Esau's pattern is exactly the same.
Yes.
2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 5.
Yes, sir.
2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 5.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 14 and verse 5.
Now, let me explain to you. This is Joab dealing with Absalom's return. But in this story is a parable. I want you to see how that parable ties in with what we're just reading. Begin at verse 5, sir. Let's read.
Job chapter 4, 2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 5.
Read.
And the king said unto her, What aileth thee? And she answered, I am indeed a widow woman,
Go on.
and mine husband is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And thy handmaid had 2 sons.
And what?
Had 2 sons.
Follow closely. Read.
And they 2 strove together in the field.
In where?
In the field.
All right, hold it there. Go back and read what you just read in Genesis chapter 4 and verse 8.
Come, Genesis chapter 4 and verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him.
And slew him. Now let's go back and read verse 6 again.
Come.
In 2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse, now we're going to read verse 7 onward.
2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 7. And behold, the whole family is risen against thine handmaid. And they said, Deliver him that smote his brother.
Do what?
Deliver him that smote his brother.
Now the reason why they did that was because in our laws, we have something called an avenger of death. So if somebody killed our brother, we have the right to raise up someone to go and kill the person who killed him.
Okay.
We have the right to do that. And it's called the Avenger of Death. So here, that's why, remember, that's why Cain says, anyone who sees me, they'll want to kill me. Why he says that? Because in their law, he knew that someone has the right to raise up seed to come and kill him for what he did.
He told the father then.
Right. An avenger of death. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Grace and peace.
So that's why he said, I'm afraid. He wasn't afraid of the Most High. He was afraid of what people could do to him.
He was afraid that it was in a land. Because remember, the Most High removed his covering from him. So it's no longer covered by the Most High. And left him to go out there and marked him. And that's why when people say that Most High doesn't have mercy, you don't know what you're talking about. He had enough mercy to mark this man with a mark that when anyone see him, they knew that you can't touch him. He's the first untouchable. The first untouchable. If they see him, they knew what he did, they wouldn't touch him because they know where he's coming from and the law that the Most High put on him. If you see that, makes sense? All right. So let's go back and read what we just left off. 6 of 2 Samuel 14.
2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 6. And thy handmaid had 2 sons, and they two strove together in the field, and there was none to part them.
None to do what?
None to part them.
Go on.
But the one smote the other and slew him.
Go on.
And behold, the whole family is risen against thine handmaid.
See that again?
The whole family is risen against thy handmaid.
Go on.
And they said, deliver him that smote his brother.
Do what?
Deliver him that smote his brother.
Go on.
That we may kill him for the life of his brother whom he slew.
Who we what?
Whom he slew.
Go on.
And we will destroy the heir also. And so they shall quench my coal which is left, and shall not leave to my husband neither name nor remainder upon the earth.
Because we know as Israel, you have to have a seed line to continue the name. If you destroy it, then there's nothing to take the name forward. Read on. What verse were you on?
That's verse 7.
Verse 7. Yeah, we leave it there. Because I don't want to read the whole story, because the whole story is not germane. The only parts that's germane to what we were dealing with is verse 5 through to verse 7. You'll find that that links in to what we're reading in Genesis chapter 4 and verse 8, right? Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Okay, so if there's no question, I take it everybody's got it then. So I'm giving you the opportunity now.
It's like, yeah, also, it kind of hits the nail on the head in Genesis 4 and verse 15, where Cain actually spoke with the Most High, saying, if I leave, they will kill me.
Correct.
So he told him, if you go, I will deal with the one who tries to deal with you.
Calm. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 26 and 25 real quick. 26, 25.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 26, verse 25.
Go on.
It reads, when he speaketh fair, believe him not.
Read it again.
When he speaketh fair, believe him not.
Go on.
For there are 7 abominations in his heart.
Read that one more time, please.
This is Proverbs chapter 26, verse 25. When he speaketh fair, believe him not.
Go on.
For there are 7 abominations in his heart.
There's 7 abominations. Now, the reason why it lets us know 7 abominations, because the Bible speaks about 7 in that manner. Are you with me so far? Everybody good? All right. Read on.
Whose Hatred is covered by deceit.
Go on.
His wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation.
Right. So I want you to make that highlight there. I want you to make that distinguishing marker so that you can come back to it. All right. So he does not speak fair. He speaks lies. All right. Wickedness is in his heart. Gone? All right. So from here, what I want you to do is go with me to, let's see, where do I want you to go? Go with me to Psalms 28. Psalms 28. All right? Psalms 28. And begin at verse 3.
Come. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 28, and verse 3. It reads, Draw me not away with the wicked.
Read that again.
Draw me not away with the wicked.
Go on.
And with the workers of iniquity.
The works of who?
The workers of iniquity.
Go on.
Which speak peace to their neighbors.
Which speak what?
Which speak peace to their neighbors.
Go on.
But mischief is in their hearts.
Mischief is in their heart. Can't beat that one, that's for sure. All right, and read it one more time, then we'll go to the next one.
Come, this is the book of Proverbs, Psalms, chapter 28, verse 3. Draw me not away with the wicked, and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts.
All right, jump down to verse 5.
Verse 5. Because they regard not the works of the Lord.
They do what?
Because they regard not the works of the Lord,
Go on.
nor the operation of his hands.
Nor what?
Nor the operation of his hands. He shall destroy them, and not build them up.
All right, are you precepting, everyone? Write that in. Just making sure now. All right. From there, we're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 9. Jeremiah chapter 9. All right, Jeremiah chapter 9, when you have it, we're going to read at verse 8.
Come, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 9 and verse 8, it reads, Their tongue is as an arrow.
That's what?
As an arrow.
Read.
Shot out. It speaketh deceit.
It speaks what?
It speaketh deceit.
Now, how can you even ever not get that this devil has nothing good in him? But yet we're drawn to him like moths around a light. We love his ways best of all. But read it one more time, please.
Jeremiah chapter 9 and verse 8. Their tongue is as an arrow shot out.
An arrow is something sharp, something piercing. Now, this is why we know, when we read this also ties into the Smith, by the way. Let me explain to you how that is as a sidebar. It says, read it one more time.
Their tongue is as an arrow shot out.
Shot out, go on.
It speaketh deceit.
It speaks deceit, meaning, now when it uses the word deceit there, it's also speaking about destruction. You see? It's speaking about destruction. Let's prove that. Go to Psalms 1, go to Psalms 12 and 2.
The book of Psalms, chapter 12 and verse 2, it reads, They speak vanity, every one with his neighbor.
With his what?
With his neighbor.
With his neighbor.
With flattering lips.
With what?
With flattering lips.
Go on.
And with a double heart do they speak.
Do they speak. So they'll speak one thing in front of you, and then behind you they destroy you.
That's a crazy verse.
See?
Crazy.
So,
Psalms 12 and verse 2.
all right, so you got that, sir? All right, now, go back to 2 Samuel chapter 14. Now we're going to read verse 6.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 14 and verse 6, it reads, And thy handmaid had 2 sons, and they 2 strove together.
No. 2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 6. Oh, Salaki, yes.
Yeah.
Read on it. Salaki.
Come. 2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 6, it reads, And thy handmaid had 2 sons, and they 2 strove together in the field.
Go on.
And there was none to part them, but the one smote the other, and slew him.
And did what?
And slew him.
And slew him. So we see this is an action here that when we read the next verse, it speaks about they want vengeance, right?
Yes.
Let's drop that now. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 23 and 24. Jeremiah chapter 23 and 24.
Come.
Again, I have to keep going backwards with the scriptures because I have to, for those who are listening to it, I need you to know the connection. I'm trying not to just sweep going through and take it for granted that you know. I'm going backwards and forwards so that you see how it lines up. So when you're studying it for yourself, you too will be able to follow the trail and be able to make sense of it. So Jeremiah, what did I say?
Chapter 23, verse 24.
Very good. Let's read.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 23, verse 24. Can any hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him?
So what it's saying here, do you really believe that you can hide yourself in a secret place where I, the Most High God, will not see you? So in other words, do you think you can build underground bunkers or build rocket ships that are orbiting around the earth and think I can't find you?
Come.
Do you think you can go to, in fact, this is what the scripture says in Psalm. He said, if I took the winds of the morning and flew to the uttermost part, behold, thou art there. If I made my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. He let you know that there is nowhere you can go where the Most High God is not.
Come.
He made everything. Are you seeing this? It's making sense to you so far? All right. So, what verse did you read, sir?
That was still 24, sir.
24, all right. Read it one more time and then we'll move on.
Come. Can any hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him?
Read.
Saith the Lord. Do not I fill heaven and earth, saith the Lord.
Saith the Lord. Read on.
I have heard what the prophets said, that prophesy lies in my name,
Read.
saying, I have dreamed. How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets
Read.
that prophesy lies?
Go on.
Yea, they are prophets of the deceit of their own
Of
hearts,
their own heart.
lying to themselves.
See?
That's great.
Psalm 51 and 17. Psalm 51 and 17. Now I'm giving you precepts here before I get back to the story. So,
Come, the book of Psalms, chapter 51 and verse 17. It reads, The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit.
what?
Are a broken spirit.
So remember what we said earlier in the last session. I explained to you that if you wanted to show your contrition for what you have done, repentance, the scripture says, a broken and a contrite heart you will not despise. So here what we're reading in the Psalms is the same thing again. Read it to me.
The book of Psalms, chapter 51, verse 17. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit.
Are what?
Are a broken spirit.
Are a broken spirit. Go on.
A broken and contrite heart. O God, thou wilt not despise.
Thou wilt not despise.
God.
from here you go to 2 Corinthians chapter 7 and 10. Let's look at godly sorrow. 2 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 10.
Yes, sir. This is the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 7 and verse 10. For godly sorrow worketh repentance.
Hold it. See? How do you get yourself right with the Most High God? He says godly sorrow. That means if there's a godly sorrow, there's also a fake sorrow. And that's what Esau had when he sought it with tears. He was crying, oh, can you not bless me, Father? But he can't bless him because he was faking it. He was faking it. He was pretending to be so broken up that I need me a blessing too. If he wanted his blessing, he should never have given it away in the first place. But read what it says, sir. Read.
2 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 10. For godly sorrow worketh repentance to salvation.
To what?
To salvation.
Go on.
Not to be repented of. But the sorrow of the world worketh death.
Worketh death.
Come.
All right, so now let's go back to Genesis chapter 4. Let's read 9 and 10, if you please.
Yes, sir. The book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 9. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper?
That's a child that needs a good slap. But here, this is a grown man. You getting saucy with the Most High God. You getting fresh. You know, back in the day, there would have been some hand slapping going.
That's right.
All right. Let's go. Let's put this together. Let's go to Job chapter 15. Let's put it together. Job chapter 15 and 25.
The book of Job, chapter 15, verse 25. It reads, for he stretcheth out his hand against God,
Go on.
and strengtheneth himself against the Almighty.
So who does this?
That's madness.
Read it one more time, please.
Job chapter 15, verse 25. For he stretcheth out his hand against God, and strengtheneth himself against the Almighty.
He makes himself, pumps himself up, sticks his chest out against the Most High God. Huh? Read on.
He runneth upon him, even on his neck, upon the thick bosses of his bucklers.
See, so this is a no good so and so. Let's go, if you please, to 1 John chapter 3 and 10. 1 John chapter 3 and 10.
The book of 1 John, chapter 3 and verse 10, it reads, in this the children of God are manifest,
Go on.
and the children of the devil.
See that? In this, the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. You done there, sir?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
Whosoever doth not righteousness is not of God.
Say that again.
Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God.
Go on.
Neither he that loveth not his brother.
See? You have to love your brother.
He said in his heart, I'm going to slay my brother.
There it is. Now, to show you that this is indeed a devil, I'm going to show you, because you'll read this and say, well, that was Cain. That was Cain. That had nothing to do with Esau. Oh, well, let's show you what Esau said. Let's go to Genesis chapter 27.
He said it too.
And here, watch what he says. He bides his time. To show you how much a scandalous wretch he is. He bides his time. And this is what he says in verse 41.
Con, the book of Genesis, chapter 27 and verse 41, it reads, And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob.
See that? In case we have some simple folk out there who still don't get it, read the next verse for me.
And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee.
See?
Comfort himself.
That's not Esau, don't worry.
That's some hate for you, though. I'll feel better once he's gone.
Genesis chapter 4 and 10.
Yes, sir. The book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 10. And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
Now, let's explain that. Years ago, I taught this. Now, I'm telling you, years on, many years ago. I taught this because my understanding at the time was that because the scripture says there's life in the blood, I presumed that the life that was shed from his brother, when it hit the ground, it screamed out for vengeance. Now, to understand it better, now that I'm much older and wiser, I understand it a little bit better. So let's go, if you please, to 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and 7.
Yes, sir. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 7, page 32. It reads, Therefore, saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness,
Go on.
which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves.
Go on.
Behold,
Here it is.
the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me,
See that? Go on.
and the souls of the just complain continually.
See that there? Now, hold that. We're going to read it again, but hold that. Go back and read Genesis chapter 4 and 10.
Come, Genesis chapter 4 and verse 10. And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of my brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
Go back now to 2nd Ezra chapter 15, begin at verse 7.
2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 7. Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves.
They wickedly exercise themselves. Go on.
Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me.
Now remember, when our people have been lynched, castrated, hung, drawn and quartered, burned, roasted on a spit, this is our people's blood by way of the Spirit crying out in the spirit realm. Read, sir.
And the souls of the just complain continually.
They complain how?
Continually.
Continually. So they're continually complaining. See that? Do you see it?
Yes, sir.
Right, Revelation chapter 6 and 9. Revelation chapter 6 and 9.
Yes, sir.
You have to stay tight with me now. If you want to catch these precepts, you've got to stay tight with me. I'm moving just a little bit faster than I normally would, simply because, again, I want to make sure that I get pretty much to the end of this chapter, if I can.
The book of Revelation, chapter 6 and verse 9, it reads, "And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain."
So you see, so their souls go up and they're placed in a realm of the altar where they are constantly calling for vengeance for their soul. Go on,
Come.
read.
For the word of God and for the testimony which they held.
Which they what?
Which they held.
Which they held. Yes, sir.
Verse 10, "And they cried with a loud
And they
voice."
did what?
And they cried with a loud voice,
Go on.
saying, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?"
That do what?
That dwell on the earth.
That dwell on the earth. So the scriptures is making it crystal clear. Is there any question that anybody has? Is there any questions that anyone has? Anything? We good?
We're good.
All right. Let's go to Luke chapter 11 and verse 10. Luke 11 and verse 10.
The book of Luke, chapter 11 and verse 10, it reads, "For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth,
Go on.
and to him that knocketh it shall be opened.
Go on.
If a son shall ask bread,"
Oh, I'll just stop there. That takes us somewhere. So it's saying that everyone that asketh. So remember, we just read that they are under the altar asking,
come,
what's going on? When are we going to get them?
come.
How long will we have to suffer? It makes it very clear there. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Gone? All right, from here, let's go to Matthew 23. Matthew chapter 23, and we're going to read verse 34. 23 and 34.
Matthew 23, 34.
Come on.
The book of Matthew, chapter 23, and verse 34. It reads, "Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets,
Go on.
and wise men, and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify,
Go on.
and some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues,
Read.
and persecute them from city to city."
From where?
From city to city.
From city to city. Now that's speaking also prophetically of the time that we are in. We will one day have to run from city to city. You could not stay in the city you're in. Everyone will be moving, bucking up on each other on the road, in the forest. You will be afraid. You will be defending yourself because of the fear that will come at that time. Let's go from there to Hebrews 22 and Hebrews 22. Hebrews 22, 24. Yes, Hebrews 22. 24. No? Oh, did I mean 12 days? Is that what I mean? 12 and 24. Yes, that's it. See? That's it.
Come.
See? I knew. Go on.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 12, and verse 24.
Go on.
"And Yahushua, the mediator,
The who?
the mediator
Go on.
of the new covenant,
Of what covenant?
of the new covenant,
Go on.
and to the blood of sprinkling,
Now listen carefully, please. Read.
that speaketh better things than that of Abel.
Did I just see that with my eyes?
Come.
Read it one more time, please.
Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 24. And to Yahushua, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling, that speaketh better things than that of Abel.
Because Abel was crying out for vengeance. Now with Yahushua was speaking for repentance, for forgiveness. You know, forgive them for they know not what they do. Even Stephen said the same thing when he was being killed by his own. And that's why it says that that he speaketh better things than that of Abel. Read.
Come. It reads in verse 25. See that ye refuse not him that speaketh, for if they escaped not who refused him that spake on earth, much more shall not we escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven.
All right. So let's go back to Genesis again. Do we have any questions? I want to make sure that I'm answering questions. Yes, ma'am.
So the scripture saying he speaketh better things than Abel. So better than revenge. Because I'm just reading back in 2 Corinthians 15, 9, and it says, I will surely avenge them and receive all the innocent blood unto you.
Right. Now, I guess the question I'm saying is, say again?
It's more than revenge.
No, it's not that we can't ask for revenge. But what Yahushua was showing, remember, he's the one who brings the revenge. But what he was showing, that he spoke a better thing than Abel to the Father. Remember, he had just been killed
Yes.
by those who were in high power. And he died for the people. But instead of asking for vengeance for his death, he asked for mercy. Because that's his own people. You see? So he took it to a greater state, a greater position that made Abel's prayer seem harsh. Now, was there anything wrong with Abel asking for vengeance or any of us? Nothing whatsoever. Do you think George Floyd does not deserve vengeance? Of course he does. And will he get it? Yes. That knucklehead will come back to life, and as he comes back to life, someone will cut his head off. Oh yeah. In that day, the Most High God is not going to let him get away with putting your knee on the neck and you walk away with it. No. You won't walk away with it. We'll fix you up real good. All right. So when we look at that and we see that the Most High God will have his vengeance for his people, we live in the assurance and wait to know that he's going to do that to them. We live in that. We hope in that. You see? Blessed hope we cherish not in vain. So from there, let's go, if you please, back to Genesis. Back to Genesis chapter 4. Let's read verse 10 again, please.
Come, the book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 10. And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
Go on.
And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand.
All right, so from there, let's go to Isaiah chapter 34:5 real quick.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 34 and verse 5. It reads, For my sword shall be bathed in heaven.
See? Go on.
Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea
Go on.
and upon the people of my curse to judgment.
See, so he's going to give judgment. No one's going to get away with what they've done. He's going to make them all pay. See that? So, with that in mind, let's quickly move ahead a little quick. Go, if you please, to First Maccabees. Maccabees chapter 1. First Maccabees chapter 1. The one that I want to show you is that sin was multiplied in the earth because of this man. All right, so let's read from verse 7.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 7, it reads, So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died. And his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth.
Now, we see then that through Esau, through this so-called white man, he is the evil the Bible speaks about. He is the beast that the Bible speaks about. Because he's the one that, because he's now reigning, everything is evil. Everything. Now, he wants to be the person that everybody looks to. Notice this. He has made it legal for man to have sex with animals. He has done that. He has made it legal for man and man to marry, woman and woman to marry. He has done that. He has made it legal that a child can go to school and say, I don't want to be a girl or a boy anymore. I want to be a fairy. And you cannot treat them scornfully. And they make a special class for them.
That's right.
And they can dress in a certain way and go to school every day dressed like that object. In schools. Now, let me put it to you this way. Those parents who have those children, they need a good slap around their head. Because here's the thing. Do you think I'm going to have my child walking around acting like he's some fairy or whatever? And I have to say, well, to keep in good etiquette with the school, what we're going to do, we're going to pacify him or pacify her. We'll go along with it. We'll play along with it. Well, to H-E-L-L with that place.
That's right.
I'm not playing along with nothing. Because little boy or little girl, you don't know your future right now. You only know that. I know what's ahead of you. And if I don't get you fixed up now, you're going to have a hard time down the road.
That's right.
So, but notice, Esau has made it like if you say something like what I've just said, you're wrong. Yet the joke is only 20 years ago, just 20 years ago, they would have thought you were a lunatic if you had said something like that. Now, a man, you can go to a restaurant and watch a man get up and go to the woman's toilet. And you can't say anything about it.
Right.
You think I'm gonna try? No, but I have to go because I feel like I am inclined that way. Which, let me leave that alone. It'll take my brain away. But here's the other thing about Esau. Every movie that's out there, he's always the last one.
Yeah.
He's the last of the Mohicans.
That's right.
What? White man, you the last of the Mohicans? He's the last samurai. What? You're the last samurai?
Wow, there's a billion Asians out there. He's the last one.
He's always the king of the jungle.
King,
How are you the king of the jungle?
only he. There's a million Africans.
And there are billions of Africans over in Africa. And you're going to tell me, out of all the transitions of life and coming down through the centuries, not one nigga over there woke up and said, I'm the king of the jungle. When a white man comes and he now is talking about with my long hair and my loincloth, that I'm the king of the jungle, and and they talk to him. How you just get there and you develop chimpanzee language? How that be?
That's right.
This is the nonsense we have to deal with.
That's right.
When are we going to wake up and smell the coffee?
That's right.
Yes, sir. You have a question.
So that was it right there. I mean, how is it that everybody that's been living there, you're the one that learns how to swim on Rhine, you're the one that learns how to speak to every animal on the planet, you know, and they listen to you and don't tell you learn from you.
This is the problem that we're dealing with this demon. Mm-hmm. And he's a devil. Mm-hmm. All right. Did I set down the hand somewhere?
I don't give me no
all right. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 13, 4 and 13.
Yes, sir. This is the book. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 13. It reads, "And Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear."
He says what?
My punishment is greater than I can bear.
Hebrews chapter 12 and 16, sir. Hebrews chapter 12 and 16.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 12 and verse 16. It reads, "Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears."
He sought it carefully with crocodile tears. He never meant it in the first place. He's a devil that the Bible speaks about.
That's right.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, when we see this devil, we begin to see what his game is. Let's go to, let's prove that point again. All right, so we saw that he sought it with tears, right? Let's go back and read Genesis 27 again. Let's go back and read it. Genesis chapter 27, verse 38.
The book of Genesis, chapter 27 and verse 38. It reads, "And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, O my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept."
And wept. His tears meant nothing.
That's right.
Man looketh on the outward appearance, but God looketh on the inward. The Most High God knew what was in him. Whilst we were looking down and saying, how could God be so hard? Why don't you have mercy on him? Why don't you, Father? But God looks on the intent of a man, not on the outward.
That's right.
We're fooled all the time. We're fooled by all sorts of things. But the Most High God, He made you. He knows who you are. He knows your game. Come on. All right. Let's go to Genesis chapter 4 and 14.
The book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 14. "Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth."
Now, the face of the earth. Now, we need to look at that in a couple of ways real quick. So go with me to Numbers chapter 6 and 25 first. And then we want to go to Matthew or Psalms. We'll go to Matthew 6 and, number 6 and 25 first. Let's go there first.
Come, the book of Numbers, chapter 6 and verse 25. It reads, the Most High make his face shine upon thee.
See, when his face shines on you, his blessings are upon you. When his face shines on you, he's making your way clear. Where there's light being shined on, he's making your way clear. When he shines on you, he's given you the ability to live. If he withhold himself from you, you become nothing. Finish it for me, please.
And gracious, and be gracious unto thee.
Finish it? That's right. All right. Let's go to Matthew 13 and 11, please. Matthew 13 and 11.
The book of Matthew, chapter 13 and verse 11, it reads, he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven.
Go on.
But to them it was not given.
They have no clue about the mysteries. That's why in these latter days, he has been opening up the scriptures to his saints. We understand more now than even our forefathers did, because we're living in the times that our forefathers prophesied about. So we see what they saw in a vision. We are living it now. Read on.
Come, it reads, for verse 12, for whosoever hath to him,
No, you've got to go back.
Salakia. It says, he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given.
Go on.
For whosoever hath, to him shall be given.
Read.
And he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away, even that he hath.
Even that he has. You see? And there's one more. I'm trying not to do this because otherwise I'm cutting down on my time. Only have a few scriptures left. But Psalms 104. Psalms 104, verse 29. 104, 29.
The book of Psalms, chapter 104, verse 29. Thou hidest thy face, they are troubled. Thou takest away their breath, they die and return to their dust.
Return to the dust. Gone?
Come.
All right, let's drop that. Let's go. Ecclesiastes chapter 18 and 1.
Ecclesiastes first.
Yeah.
That's the rock.
Let's see. All right. All right. What do we got? Anybody got it? You got it? Let me see. Yeah. Okay, it's lucky. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 8,
Come.
verse 1.
Come. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8 and verse 1. Who is as the wise man,
Go on.
and who knoweth the interpretation of a thing?
Go on.
A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed.
Shall be changed. So we see then that when Moses took away his light from him, he made him only become exposed to the things of darkness, right? Now, I need you to hold that in mind. Let's read the verse 14 again, 4 and 14.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 14. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid.
Go on.
And I shall be a fugitive
So it's no longer covered. Go on.
and a vagabond
So it's now a fugitive and a vagabond. Go on.
in the earth.
Go on.
And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me,
So what he's speaking about is the Avenger of blood, for the right given to our people back then, that they could go and kill the person who killed their kid.
come,
Read.
shall slay thee. So it's like he shall slay me. Verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold.
So, go on.
And the Lord set a mark upon Cain.
Now that mark is a mark of reservation. So he's reserved.
Mm-hmm.
No one can kill him until Yahweh Shai returns to the earth. He's marked all over the world. He thought this so-called pasty color makes him special,
Mm-hmm.
make him like the angels. Oh, the angels are black, so you're not like the angels. So here we see then that this man tries to get by with what he
That's right.
has, right? But watch this now, read.
Verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod.
Don't go where?
In the land of
The
Nod.
land of Nod. Okay, before we do it, go to Genesis chapter 3 and 15. For me, Peter. Read that for me.
The book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 15. It reads, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
So this is a type of, on one level, this is speaking about Eve. On one level, right? Speaking about Eve. This is a type of Eve. On another level, it's speaking about the nation of Israel.
Come.
You see, the nation of Israel. So if you go back and read it again, just read it again, please.
Come. This is Genesis, chapter 3. Come. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 15. I will die. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
So you see here, what it's giving you an idea that this is, yes, it's between Eve, because it's been spoken to Eve, but it's spoken futuristically on a prophetic level about Israel. Why? Because the Bible speaks about Israel as a woman. You got that? So I don't know if I want to get into that. Isaiah 54, sir. Isaiah 54, real quick. Isaiah 54 and 5. Isaiah 54, 5.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 54 and verse 5. It reads, for thy maker is thine husband.
See that? Go on.
The Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel.
Holy One of what?
The Holy One of Israel.
Go on.
The God of the whole earth shall he be called.
Go on.
For the Lord hath called thee as a woman.
Hold it. See that? See that? Call thee as a woman. So that makes you understand that this is speaking about Israel as a woman, a type of woman. You got that? All right. So it says, for the Lord hath called thee as a woman, forsaken and what?
Grieved
In what?
in spirit,
And
and a wife of youth.
of youth. When
When-
thou was what?
Refused, saith God thy God.
Saith thy God. Okay, so we see then that we are in that position as a woman, and we are being grieved in spirit, and a wife of the youth, thy youth. That's what it's speaking about. So that's what we see there. Come.
Come.
Now let's quickly move this along. I only have about 5 more scriptures. Can I give those 5 more scriptures?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So let's look at Psalm 79. Psalm 79. Psalm 79. Psalm 79 and verse 12.
Come. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 79 and verse 12. It reads, and render unto our neighbors.
Unto our neighbors. Read that again.
Psalms chapter 79 and verse 12. It reads, and render unto our neighbors sevenfold.
Sevenfold, 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 sevenfold. Go on, sir.
Into their bosom their reproach,
Their reproach.
wherewith they have reproached thee, O Lord.
Oh Lord. Huh? So, remember that sevenfold is important. 7 is completion, so when it uses that expression, it's using it to explain away how certain punishments are, how certain abominations are, etc., etc., etc. Now, again, we could go into breaking that down and putting some more precepts based on sevenfold, but we don't really have the time for that. Plus, I think it would take us away from the lesson. Can't? All right, so let's go from here, if you please, to Genesis chapter 4 and 16 again.
Yes, sir. The book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 16, it reads, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord.
Now, when you read this now, this is now, verse 16 is now the beginning of the sons of the wicked. This is the beginning of the sons of the wicked. Go to John, 1 John, chapter 3 and 11. We'll read 11 through to 12. Yes, sir.
The book of 1 John, chapter 3, verse 11. For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning,
Read.
that we should love one another.
Read.
Not as Cain,
Not as who?
not as Cain,
Not as Cain. Go on.
who was of that wicked one.
There you go. Cain was of the wicked one. That is clear, black and white, no mistakes, right there in front of us. Come. The sons of the wicked. That's powerful, right? All right, did you read it? Did you finish it?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
And slew his brother.
And did what?
And slew his brother.
And slew his brother.
And there wherefore slew he him.
Go on.
Because his own works
His own works, go on,
were evil.
were evil. Everything that Cain, Esau does, it's evil. We just proved that. Making people homosexuals, making children behave like Peter Pan and all of that nonsense. His works are evil.
Done.
Everything that he's created several different things that the world now operates by, from Mother's Day to Father's Day, from 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Easter, Christmas. He's created his own microcosm of the world that he exists in, and he wants everybody else to exist in. If you don't, then something's wrong with you. Oh, you don't celebrate Christmas? Oh, I feel so sorry for you. You tell me how people. I hear people talk like that all the time. Oh, really? I wish there's something I could do for you. I really wish. Thinking that I don't have no problem. I just don't like that false line so and so of a day.
That's right.
But people want to somehow make you feel like you're less than because you haven't lost anything. Can't?
Come.
All right, so let's get back. Let's read 17.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 17. It reads, and Cain knew his wife.
He did what?
And Cain knew his wife.
Knew his wife. Go on.
And she conceived and bare Enoch.
So you notice, again, proving the point, whenever you see the word new is always tied with the act of conception.
Come.
All right? You'll find that, or you'll notice that more and more you read in that line. Read on.
Come. And bare Enoch.
Now, Enoch, it's saying, and bare Enoch. Remember, there's two Enochs in the Bible. See, and there, remember, there are two, there's even like Lamech. There are two Lamechs. There are two Enochs. Now, first of all, understand this. This verse here is read over by many people, and they miss it every time. Now, let's see what they miss. I don't have time to ask you to figure it out and to go back and forth. Don't have time for that right now. But listen up. When we see this here, and we get it, it says, she conceived and bare Enoch, and notice there is a what there? A colon. Right? Then it says, and he builded a city. Now, you've got to stop right there. Because you have to ask the question, okay, build a city. Where do you get that information about building a city? Who taught you to build a city? Where did you get that from? Because remember, man was living, even though at that time, they were not city dwellers yet. But look at this. He builds a city. Go to Malachi chapter 1. Now let's look at this. Begin reading at verse 4.
Come. The book of Malachi, chapter 1, verse 4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness.
And we're speaking about the descendants of the wicked, right?
That's right.
So in case anyone has a problem and they say, well, how does Esau the wicked then? All right, okay, for you simpletons out there, I mean no harm, but if you're simple with this, let me show you this. Job chapter 9.
I was going back to first time.
Yeah, we'll go there after.
The book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24. The book of Job, chapter 9, and verse 24. It reads, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
Now the reason why this verse is important, because it says that the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. That means that the earth is being run by the descendants of Cain, who are the wicked. We just read that he was the wicked. Did we not read that?
We did.
In Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
So now when we go back now to Genesis chapter 4 and 17, read.
The book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 17. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived, and bare Enoch.
And bare what?
Enoch.
Enoch, go on.
And he builded a city.
He builded a city. So we see then, a city is something that you have to have prior knowledge of. you have to have some skill with it. So where did he get that information from? When his door was opened, he let in Satan, and Satan advanced him knowledge that was not yet in his grasp. And as he received that knowledge, his offsprings, remember, he did not fully have as much of that knowledge, but he had enough to know to do certain things, and he continued to teach his children that they continued to teach it on. When they were wiped out during the flood, then the Most High God had a renaissance, a rebirth, a reboot, that he would come back through the bloodline again, through the three sons of Noah. Is that making sense to you so far?
Yes.
Because now you're seeing the correlation, you're seeing the connection, and you're seeing who is who, right? Does that make sense to you so far? Now, some of you will have a challenge with that. Oh, that's a steep grasp, Pastor Thompson. All right, okay. Since it's a grasp, let me see. Let's go. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 24. Let's read that real quick, please.
The book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 24, it reads, So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life.
So he now uses Esau to become a sword to us to keep us away from our truth. That's why we've been struggling with who we are. Because he uses Esau as a sword. He uses him as a sword so that he would keep us away from our truth. Ezekiel chapter 28 and 14, sir. Ezekiel 28 and 14.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 28 and verse 14, it reads, Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire.
All right, we'll stop there. See? Okay. All right, let's not dwell on that because I want to finish this. So let me also prove to you Psalm 17. Did I go to Psalm 17 yet? And 13? All right, let's. I want to prove the flaming sword thing. So Psalms chapter 17 and 13, and then I'm going to be finishing up with two more scriptures. Let's read.
The book of Psalms, chapter 17, verse 13, it reads, Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked.
From what?
From the wicked.
Go on.
Which is thy sword.
See that? So the wicked has been his sword. The wicked has been his sword. Now, to put to rest the garden east side of Eden, how they got that knowledge, how he got that knowledge, how that knowledge was shed, given away. Let's go to Luke chapter 4. Luke chapter 4. And we're going to read Luke chapter 4. Time won't allow us to go through the whole book, so I'm just going to get to the point. Read verse 4.
Yes, sir. The book of Luke, chapter 4 and verse 4, it reads, And Yahushua answered him, saying, It is written, that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God.
Go on.
And the devil, taking him up into a high mountain, showed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time.
Go on.
And the devil said unto him, all this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and whomsoever I will, I give it.
See that? So this is what was given out to Cain. Cain knew things that his other brothers didn't know about. Then it says,
Verse 7, if thou therefore wilt worship me, all shall be thine.
if you open your door and let me in.
Come.
See that? Now, this, remember, the same thing that happened back then to Cain, remember, happened to his parents. If you eat, you will not die.
Come.
You will become as God.
That's right. Same spit.
See? Same thing. Same thing. So, read verse 8, sir.
Verse 8, and Yahushua answered and said unto him, get thee behind me, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve.
All right, let's go to 2 Ezra 11 and 14. 11 and 14.
Come. The book of 2 Ezra, chapter 11 and verse 40, page 28, it reads, and the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were passed, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit.
With deceit. See that?
Come.
So you see, it's telling you who has dwelt with deceit for a very long time. Is that clear to you?
Come.
Now, you can get a little bit more in that, but I don't want to take us off track, but I want to finish on this. Go, if you please, I won't go no more into Genesis, but go to Sirach chapter 19 and verse 22.
Yes, sir. 22. Come. The book of Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 22, it reads, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom.
Read it again.
The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom.
It's not wisdom.
Neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence.
See that? That's powerful right there. It tells you clearly. The knowledge of what is not what? Not wisdom. Neither at any time counsel of sinners prudent. Go ahead, sir.
Person, so this is like why the huge push all the time when it shows various things in the media or everything is always the opposite of this. Like the things that are basically foolishness, which goes back to the foolishness of the father is wiser than men. Because the stuff that they show us all the time is like the very opposite of that. They always show us wickedness and like, well, it's exactly what.
Correct, because remember, television is programming. It's programming us. Our people spend more time in front of the television than a lot of people in this country. We love a TV. And so the longer you spend in front of that TV, the more programmed that you're becoming for the things that you're seeing. And you'll find that it becomes more important than the things of the Lord. And to prove it even further, go if you please, to Job chapter 28. 28, that's the last verse.
Yes, sir. The book of Job, chapter 28 and verse 28, it reads, and unto man he said, behold, the fear of the Most High, that is wisdom.
That is what?
That is wisdom.
That is wisdom gone
and to depart from evil is understanding.
is understanding.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Any questions?
I gotta get this out.
Go ahead, sir.
Sirach chapter 19 and verse 24. He that hath small understanding and feareth God is better than one that hath much wisdom and transgresseth the law of the Most High.
Jump to 29.
Verse 29. A man may be known by his look, and one that hath understanding by his countenance when thou meetest him.
Go on.
A man's attire and excessive laughter and gait show what he is.
So again, that's why when we see men that laugh a lot, there's more behind that laugh than what we hear. Yes, go ahead.
So basically, so when the serpent said to Eve, you become as gods, and then it also said, Cain said, sin lies at the door. So each time that was a gateway that was opening them the knowledge all the way down to they do not know how to do it.
Well, remember,
Because they opened up and
to a certain degree, the reasons why in Eve's case it got cut short was because they were brought to judgment. They were brought to judgment. The judgment that they were brought to is the judgment that we still have now. Every woman that had a baby still suffers pain. That's how we know that judgment still exists. That judgment has not rescinded. When our women have children and no longer feel pain, the judgment has been lifted. Now, so Adam, who is the head, his judgment continues on in the seed of man. That's why man's sin keeps being perpetuated. We're all given the opportunity not to sin because we're all given the opportunity to follow his law, statutes, and commandments. More so now than before, because we've now got the written law. But we've also got better than that too, because we've got also the faith that we have in Yahushua, who is our Redeemer. So we're in a better position, but yet man still has not turned. Now, the difference with Cain, however, is that Cain's situation was now at a point of unrepentant, because the Most High verbally told him, you have an opportunity right now to change. Guess what he did? He chose to go the other way. Once he chose to go the other way, that's it. You're done. You see? And that spirit is the way that spirit is. That's why even when that spirit came back in Esau, and Esau now, notice, he gave away his birthright like it was water. He cared not for it. But then, when it came down to it, when everything was counted, then he recognized that I need to have it, and now he's crying like he wants it. That's the same spirit that was on Cain. No, they're going to come and kill me. You see? It's the same spirit. That's why the scriptures, that's why Yahushua said when he met some of them, he said, you are like your father. He was a murderer from the beginning. All right, any other questions before we conclude here? You have a question? No, you have a question? Go ahead.
It's pertaining to Job 9 and 24. The latter clause of
Job chapter 9 and 24.
yes,
Go ahead.
The book of Luke, chapter 9 and verse 24.
Job.
Lucky, I thought I said that.
Oh,
The book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
Go on.
Turn. Now my days are swifter than a post. They flee away. They see no good.
Go on.
They are passed away as the swift ships, as the eagle that hasteneth to the prey.
Go on.
If I say, I will forget my complaint, I will leave off my heaviness and comfort myself.
Go on.
I am afraid of all my sorrows. I know that thou wilt not hold me innocent.
Go on.
If I be wicked, why then labor I in vain?
So, go ahead now. Your point.
So the judges, that's us, correct?
The judges, you find it in 1 Maccabees chapter 3 and 48. Mhm. First Maccabees.
The book of 1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 38, it reads, And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Of their images. What's their images? Go back to Job chapter 9 and 24.
Job chapter 9 verse 24, The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
They will cover the faces of the judges thereof. The judges are our image. So he's covered them by painting his face white on their black face.
Come on.
Is that also a form of blindness and just covering our eyes and ears so that we don't know who we are as well?
Well, this is more to do with the law.
The law.
Because it says, if you read it again,
In Maccabees or in Job?
Job.
Job chapter 9 verse 24, The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
Given into the hands of the wicked, which is Esau, gone.
He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
So the judges that he came across, which are the children of Israel, he covers their faces. Every painting that was done in the Renaissance period, according to Malachi chapter 1 verse 4, which is the Renaissance, which is, by the way, it's only 500-600 years ago. It's not long. What he did was he painted over those faces that were black, made them white, and have pushed to make everything white. Now let me give you an image of that to prove that. Remember, there were coats of arms that was given initially to all of the countries so that everybody understood what was what and who was what. What we have here is a this image here shows how the coats of arms used to look back in the beginning. Right? The people are painted black. But notice, in the Renaissance age, as time changed, guess what they did? They painted the images white. Because they were trying to replace themselves. Because, you see, it's impossible. Why do you think when they do a census, and the census says, you mark yourself down as Mexican, right? You mark yourself down as so-called Indians, right? And you mark yourself down as black. What he has done, he has just in one foul swoop separated us to make us feel like we are not the same. Why is that so important? If ever we came together and realized that both Mexicans, Indians, and blacks are the same people, Esau would be so wanting to lose their mind, is a nice word. They'll be like, there are more of them than us. If you keep them separated, then it makes it look like Esau is more than us. Esau is not more than us. Never has been, never will be. And they haven't been here long enough for them to be more than us. Because we had people here before, and that's why they killed off nearly a million blacks with smallpox blankets. They were blacks. They weren't this silly color you see them looking like. That's another group that they've been to do. They're called mongrel Indians. That's why they have slant eyes and so on. They're mongrels. That's a mixture of what happened with King Philip. King Philippe, who brought over Filipinos from the Philippines. Remember, it's named after him. Filipino, King Philip. He brought them over to Mexico and had them mixed with the Mexicans. Then he had the Mexicans pushed further up, and they began to mix with certain groups of Indians and created a whole nother group. When those so-called Filipinos came over, they didn't even speak, they spoke Spanish. They spoke Spanish. Not the Filipino language you hear them saying. They spoke Spanish. And they came over here, mixing with the so-called Mexican, and that's how it started off. There are books on it. But it's amazing how to keep all the books separate so that you can't put them all together. But anyhow, that we woke up to the fact that you're us, and you're us, this country would be wetting themselves because they'd be saying, they know there's now more of them than us. And if they ever banter together, we are crippled. Because remember, our people also, from American Indian, so-called Indian to blacks and Hispanic, we're in the army too.
That's right.
You make us wake up and we're in the army? Oh no, we're not fighting your war now. We now know who the real enemy is. But see, they can't let that information out. That's why continual programming. Notice, every 5 years they make a movie, and it's a stupid movie, but they make the movie and they push it through Hollywood so that everybody wakes up and turns and says, oh, the gods of Egypt, oh, they're all white.
Yeah.
Stupid movie like Noah. And they got Russell Crowe as fat Noah.
Yeah.
And stone giants.
Kind.
You know, all that type of nonsense.
Very
And they do that because every 5 years they've got to indelibly push to keep your mind locked down to what you were and are thinking and not to who you could become.
That's right.
It's dangerous to wake up a nigger right here. But we'll take you down here. Go ahead, though.
I got a precept on the one. I was going to go to Matthew 19:28 about us being judged in the 12 tribes. I have another one, Luke chapter 22. I'll start at verse 28. Luke chapter 22 and verse 28. It reads, Ye are they which have continued with me in my temptations, and I appoint unto you a kingdom, as my Father have appointed unto me, that ye may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on my thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
Any other questions from anyone else? All right, at this time, what we want to do to all of our viewership, we hope that you've enjoyed this teaching. We hope it's been a blessing to you. We certainly recognize it. Some of the teaching got a little bit deep at times. We hope that it was still palatable for you. I pray that you continue to watch, listen, and learn. And please continue to subscribe and to like us and thumbs up and all of that. And we're going to ask you again for this so-called new year, that we're going to push as hard as we can to get more subscribers.
That's right.
And the thing that we want you who are the Israelites to recognize that this so-called new year is not our new year. Our new year won't begin until closer to March, April. That's when we begin out and we look forward. You've got to recognize, how is it even possible to have a new year? Notice the word, new year, where things are supposed to grow and become fresh again in the dead of winter. How would that be? It doesn't work. When things start to become new, it's during the spring, the summertime, when things start to live again. That's the time. So I encourage you, prepare yourself for what is to come and not what is. And on the behalf of Captain myself, I would say to you, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach Malach Yahushua, say